Okay, it is August 10th. It is 6:12 p.m. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. And like I said, I apologize for any background noise that I'm contributing to this, but I appreciate everyone's patience and willingness to be here tonight. We could just get the meeting called to order, and since we don't have a quorum, I assume there's no public comment. Is that right, Sarah Ann?
That is correct. No public comment.
All right, so we'll jump right into candidate interviews, and if you wouldn't mind taking over for it, I'll jump in at the end of each one as we discuss.
Sounds good. Okay, so first on our list of interviews is Emily Tennell for the Library Advisory Board. Emily has met with the Library Advisory Board. The board and chair enthusiastically recommend her for appointment. And Emily, you are up first to talk about your interest and application and all that good stuff. Take it away.
All right, well, I think probably most of you know, I have worked at the Mansfield Public Library I worked there for, 16 years as the shared librarian. So partly with the public schools and partly with the public library. And then this year was my first year where I have moved completely over to the school side. And so now I'm the elementary school librarian at the Mansfield Elementary School. And I still feel very, very strongly that my role in this, in Mansfield is to really help kids know what a library is and what kind of a role a library can play in their lives. And so I want to make sure that I continue to maintain a really strong relationship with the public library. And I think I do that in my role as the elementary school librarian. But I think from an advisory board perspective, I feel like not only do I want to make sure that our students' best interests are kept in mind, not that I'm worried about that, but to be a voice at the table in that advisory capacity for students and children in Mansfield. So, and we did work really hard on a strategic plan for the public library, and I am 100% behind the strategic plan. And I hope we can, the advisory board continues to support that plan. And I hope to be able to do that from that perspective.
Awesome. Thank you for being willing to volunteer your time. And I'm familiar with you, just given my kids, I think, are one grade behind your daughters.
Yeah, they came through. Yep.
And they're big, and I think that you're a big reason as to why they have enjoyed the library as much as they have. And so I'm glad to hear that you're willing to provide some of your time like this. And I think you've covered most of the things I was going to ask anyway. But do you have any questions for us, Sarah Ann or I?
Not really. I mean, no.
So I'll say this because it'll point out to other candidates that since we don't have a forum, we're not able to make. And so procedure voted on at the next town council meeting. It'll have to wait until we have another committee on committees meeting, which maybe we'll have a special meeting just so that we can do the recommendations and that sort of deal. But for right now, you still feel free to attend any of the meetings. You just won't be able to vote until Sarah Ann reaches out and lets you know that the town council has approved any recommendations made by the committee on committees.
I think the next library advisory board meeting isn't until October or something like that. So I think there's plenty of time.
Perfect.
I think.
Well, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Oh.
Sam, there was a little bit of breakup in the beginning there, but I just want to make sure that everyone here understands. I think, Sam, what you were trying to capture is that because we don't have a quorum of members here tonight, the committee is not able to vote to recommend appointments this evening. So that just doesn't mean that you won't be recommended. It just means that it's going to take a bit more time until the next committee meeting to vote for those recommendations and then have the appointments made. So, but you'll be through the interview process by the end of tonight. So it'll be good. Did I capture all that, Sam? Pretty sure that's what you were trying to say.
You got it. You got it exactly. Thank you.
All right. Perfect. Thank you, Emily. And if you didn't catch what Sam said, you don't have to stay for the whole meeting, though you are perfectly within your rights to do so if you would like to. But most people do jump off, so don't feel awkward if you're like, I'd rather get on with my night.
Okay, well, I think I will say goodbye then, and it was nice to see you all, and we'll see you around. Thank you.
Emily. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, so next on our agenda for candidate interviews is, I hope I pronounced this right, Galadriel Chilton. Did I do it right?
You did.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. So Galadriel is interviewing also for the Library Advisory Board and has also sat with the Library Advisory Board, interviewed with them, has also received an enthusiastic recommendation from the board and the chair to be appointed. So here we are. And if you would please tell us about your interest in serving on the board and your relevant experience.
Certainly, I would be happy to. Thank you for the opportunity. So my spouse, son, and I moved to Mansfield in 2011, and one of the first things we did was get our library cards for Mansfield Public Library. We are strong and steady public library users and advocates for libraries, as well as strongly believe in access to information and how that's integral to just being, a citizen and also essential for our democracy. That's on a personal note. On a professional note, I am an academic librarian. I moved here because I had a position at the University of Connecticut. I now work for a partnership of academic libraries and I'm administratively based at Yale. My background and experience is in academic libraries, and I am a strong believer and advocate and user of public libraries, and would also, now that we've been living in Mansfield for quite some time, would like to give back to the community and support the public library.
That's great, thank you. Sam, questions for Galadriel?
I apologize if there's an announcement in the background, but I heard everything you were having to say, and I'm very glad that you're a resident of Mansfield, that you originally moved here for UConn, and now you're working down in New Haven. But my family did the same thing when we first moved here. One of the first things we did was get our library cards. And so I pretty much covered everything that I was going to be asking. And if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But thank you very much for giving your time to come and be interviewed this evening, and also to be willing to serve on a board in town.
Great, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Great. Thank you very much for your time and bearing with us through the technical difficulties.
No worries. I know you're with those.
Yes. And same, of course, for you. You don't have to stay on, but you can if you want. Okay.
I will say good night, but I'll also say hello to Susanna. And good evening. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Susanna, you are next up. Susanna Cohen is here to interview for the Town University Relations Committee, the citizen seat. And also has interviewed with the Town University Relations, attended their meeting, and has been recommended by the mayor, who co-chairs that particular committee, to be appointed. So welcome. Susanna, if you want to tell us, please, about your interest in serving. And I know you did write up a letter. I'm not sure that that got to the right eyes in time. So if you just want to speak to that lovely email that you had sent out about your interest and qualifications, that would be great.
Sure. So I'll try to kind of synopsize what I wrote there. First, let me say thank you for having me. And I feel like I've taken an immersion, deep immersion suddenly from thinking it was time, like Galadriel, who is a personal friend and former colleague, quite by chance find myself here the same night she is. I am at that stage in my life where I'm wanting to give back to the town. And so I feel like I've gone from finding it to be a great idea and just suddenly like having meetings and meeting the mayor, and it's actually been kind of exciting. It's like going from 0 to 60 very quickly, but not in a bad way. So I'll start by saying, I mean, this is in the paragraph if anyone read it. I feel like I need to out this right away. I had thought, I feel sort of naive for thinking this, that in some ways working at UConn is an asset to being on this committee, although I feel now is the thing I have to somehow defend against or sort of account for in some way. So let me say that although I do work at the University of Connecticut, and I hope you're ready for it, I am a librarian, of course, because that seems to be the theme of the evening. And now I'm very aware of why when I inquired about committees and availability that they said they already had some interested qualified candidates for the library board. I'm understanding that very well, because there's a very qualified academic librarian and the librarian who helped my children in the schools as they went through. So yeah, I work at UConn. Let's just put it out there. But that's like, I don't know how many hours we're awake. You know, that is the place I do my job. But I've lived in town since 2009. I've raised 3 children here through Goodwin and the middle school, and my twins are rising, entering juniors at E.O. Smith. We've been going to the community center and having birthday parties and all been members and swam in that pool and play soccer and do WAM. And so, yes, I work at UConn, but I think of myself as a resident. I walk Horsebarn Hill on weekends, and I think of it as my hill, not the university's. I have this relationship with that space over there. It's like the place I go to work, and then the weekends, it's like this giant, beautiful park that I enjoy in a very different way and love and protect that experience of it. I care a lot about university-town relationships. I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, where so-called town-gown relationships can be quite fraught sometimes around some of the same issues. I know I've sat in on 2 meetings now that come up here, perhaps magnified in some ways out there because of, you know, we talk about the cost of living, and out there it's you know, this is on a whole different level of what's not affordable for students and how crazy everything is, and trying to find that balance between a town that wants to grow and grow in certain ways, and universities that also want to grow, and sometimes that works in harmony and sometimes it doesn't. And you know, I'm a resident of the town, and I think it's best for the town when the university and town have a healthy relationship and benefit each other, and particularly as a Mansfield resident, want to see that relationship, you know, benefit the town and the town's longevity and health in a way, and to not have the town taken advantage of in any way, and have that relationship stay healthy. You know, we want it good for UConn, but ultimately, you know, UConn sits inside this town that is other things besides UConn. And my husband works for Eastern, that other place that abuts our other end of town. And so I'm also aware of the greater community and how our town impacts the larger area. I'm from the West Coast, so we think in terms of counties, which is alien to New England, but you know, there's a bigger area around us, and that matters too. And the university, you know, is a piece of that also. And so all to say, I think being able to talk both sides is an asset for me. Having sat through 2 meetings so far, I mean, it goes pretty deep, pretty fast in talking university talk and talking town talk. And I found it beneficial to me to understand the lingo, as it were, when the university folks are talking their piece to sort of understand what they're referring to and where they're referring to it. To me, that feels helpful to understanding the conversations, but ultimately, you know, my goal is to take that thing that sits within our town and make sure that it, you know, that it's an asset that continues to be an asset for the town, and make things better for everyone for sure. But that's my goal in being there. I care a lot about it, have a lot of passion on both sides, but at the end of the day, I'm, you know, a mom of 3 kids, and this is home for me. So I care about that. Ultimately, I could leave my job at UConn tomorrow and I'd still be here, a citizen of the town, caring a lot about that relationship. So that's where I'm coming from in wanting to join this committee.
And
Thank you.
and I really appreciate. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there, Sarah Ann.
No,
But
no,
I
go ahead, Sam.
wanted to thank you for taking the time to acknowledge that there is some accountability, especially with somebody who works for UConn. I think that just giving you recommendations, and certainly just everything you've told me, I feel very comfortable with you as the town representative on the town gown committee. This is a committee that is one that I've had a number of residents express interest in being on, and I do think that your background and certainly your mindset will definitely bring a strength to the table in representing the town. And I very much appreciate the explanation you just gave. I don't think I need to belabor any more of it, but you know, I similar to you, moved to town, and it looks like from your resume thing here, you moved in about 2009, and that's about the time I moved in. And you know, there's been different times throughout the town that we haven't got as along as well with UConn, but I think that we're in a good period right now, and I'm glad to hear you've gone to a couple of the meetings, and I think it's great that you have the recommendation from the committee itself. So thank you for coming tonight.
Of course.
Thank you very much, and welcome to stay, but also perfectly fine to leave as well.
I will go join the teenagers in their meal, and thank you for having me. And I look forward to hearing back, and safe travels on the rest of your train journey. And I hope you get home safe and there's no rain or anything. So thank you again for having me.
Okay. Take care,
Thank you.
Susanna. And Mr. Knox, do you prefer to go by Jim or James? Oh, you're on mute.
There, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, Jim is fine.
Jim is fine. Okay, well, Jim, thank you for hopping back on with us. I apologize for the technical difficulties we had earlier. And the part you missed is that our chair of this committee, Mr. Bruder, is he's on the phone here and also on a train. So that is why we don't have an image. We don't have a quorum in this committee this evening. So what's happening is we are conducting the interviews. They're being recorded right now. We're being recorded, and that will allow also the other committee members to review those interviews. And then at the next Committee on Committees meeting, they'll be able to vote to make those recommendations for appointment. So things will move forward, but it'll just be there will be probably about I don't know, Sam, it's like another 4 weeks before we meet, so it'll be another month or so delay, but this is step one here towards getting the appointment done, is this interview. So with that, if you could please share with us your interest in serving on the Board of Ethics, and what sort of background you have that would work well on this particular board. And I will mention that Jim has, did you attend, were you able to attend the last Board of Ethics meeting? They only
No.
meet quarterly, I think. No, but you do come recommended by the chair of the Board of Ethics. So we have obtained that chair recommendation. So with that, I will let you tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. I didn't know a written summary was required, so I didn't prepare one. I've been,
No written summary is required.
Oh,
You're
okay.
fine. This is all you need.
well, I've been a resident of Mansfield since 1970. So what's that, 53 years now. I know the town well, I think. I've gone to many meetings in the early days when our kids were in schools. We went to many Board of Education meetings, lately town council meetings. So I know many of the actors in town, friends at the community center I see when I go there. It's a good place to meet Mansfield people. I want to be clear, I didn't pursue this job. It was thrust at me by Winthrop Smith, a regular member, and John DeWolf brought it up also. Of course, I don't know how to present my qualifications. I mean, am I ethical? I don't know. If this were a budget committee, you could ask me if I'm a CPA or a businessman or know something about bookkeeping, but what do you ask a person going up to an ethics committee?
I think I can.
will.
I think
Yes. Hello.
Hi, sorry, this is Sam. I'm the chair, and as Sarah Ann pointed out, I apologize because I misread my itinerary, thinking I was going to be done in time to be able to participate virtually and you'd be able to see me, but I've had to call in. And I think that I can give you some guidance just in terms of what I would look for is like, you know, in our packet, we have our code of ethics, you know, that's regulated by state statute and also our municipal code. Do you think you could follow not only the letter of the law, but also the spirit of behind it in terms of, you know, being able to provide advisory opinions and that sort of deal?
Well, of course, I would hope I could follow the letter of the law and the guidelines set out. I quickly looked through them. I was sent a PDF of all of these guidelines. I have held a somewhat similar position with the university as an ombudsman for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. I don't know, I guess I was in that position for 3 or 4 years. So I'm familiar with
I
dealing
saw that
with,
on your resume.
no, I don't think it was on, it might have been on my resume. I don't think I sent the town a resume. I wasn't asked for one. But anyway, that's one of the positions I held at the university. I was also elected to the university senate for 3 terms, I think. So that's what, 9 years, I think it is. So I guess that means people had some faith in me. So those, we might say, are some qualifications and experience I've had listening to very different points of view, either at the university senate or as an ombudsman with some conflicts which came up in the College of Liberal Arts.
And do you think, and just to
Yes.
make it, I apologize for the background noise, but can you hear me
Not
okay?
as bad as my barking dog.
Do you think you can be ethical and you know, and provide fair decision making in relation to the code once you get a little bit more familiar with it?
Well, I would hope I could be. as I say, there's evidence that people who knew me at the university thought so, or they wouldn't have put me in the ombudsman position or on the Senate. So that's some hard evidence I could present.
Well, I appreciate that. I have to agree. I don't think that people are going to put you forward or and you represent them if they feel otherwise. So thank you. Do you have any questions for us about the process or anything?
Well, no, I have looked at the guidelines. I'm sure the process is carefully followed by both parties. People are usually very careful in these adversarial situations, very careful about what they say. So I have seen this sort of thing, and I know how people behave under pressure like this. In this case, of course,
Yeah.
Lawyers may be brought in also to make sure that the guidelines are followed.
And do you have any questions about the appointment process of getting onto the Board of Ethics for Sarah Ann or I? I defer to the chair of the Board of Ethics for any, more specific questions like you might have with them, but do you have anything for us in terms of the procedure?
Well, no, I understand it's a 2-year appointment. When would my appointment begin? I'm not aware of when that is. If I were appointed.
So there's not a quorum of other committee on committee members. So the procedure is once we do have a quorum and we vote on candidates, if that candidate is recommended to the town council, then you would be put on the agenda, or your nomination would be put on the agenda, and the full town council would more than likely approve that position for you, and then you would be an official member that could vote on that Board of Ethics. You can still attend the meetings and still participate in anything that they like in terms of just kind of getting an idea of what they're working on and things like that, like a public member. But until the town council votes on your nomination, you're not technically part of the Board of Ethics.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Mm-hmm. Well, I have no specific questions.
Okay. Well, if you think of anything, contact Sarah Ann or I.
Sounds good. And Jim, I would tell you the same thing. You can hang on if you want, or you can have your night, but truth is we're going to end the meeting here anyway. So
okay, good. I'll go have my supper then.
You're not missing a thing. Yeah. So if you don't have any further questions for us, Sam, there's no further business for us to do in light of having lack of a quorum. So unless you have something else that you wanted to talk about or have me talk about, Sam, we can end right here.
No, I appreciate it. And again, Sarah, and thank you very much for working with me and helping me with this, just given the ill timing with the train and the technology that, I don't have access to by being at a stationary spot. But I didn't want to turn people away who had, reserved time in their evening. And thank you very much for setting up the interviews.
Yes, welcome. We made it work. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.